If you're listening to this, you're not lazy. You're overloaded. The modern world didn't just get faster, it got smarter at stealing your attention. Notifications, headlines, algorithms, endless opinions. And somewhere in that noise, a quiet fear spreads across the USA, the UK, Canada, Europe, Australia, across anyone trying to build a stable life in unstable times. What if I fall behind? Rising costs. Career uncertainty. AI changing the rules mid-game. Burnout dressed up as ambition. Loneliness hidden behind busy. A constant pressure to improve yourself while the world keeps moving the goalposts. But here's the truth most people never hear. You don't need more motivation. You need a stronger operating system. Because discipline isn't about being harsh with yourself. Focus isn't about willpower. Confidence isn't about personality. And mental strength isn't something you're born with. They're skills, trained, built, reinforced. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor surrounded by war, betrayal, and pressure, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This audiobook is built on that idea, not denying reality, but refusing to be ruled by it. Over the next 10 chapters, you'll learn how stay calm while the world performs panic, build discipline without burning out, reclaim focus in a distraction economy, create a resilient identity in uncertain times, and become the person who doesn't just survive change, they use it. If you've been feeling behind, distracted, tired, or stuck, you're not broken. You're just running old software in a new world. Let's update it. Chapter 1. The New Hustle. Win without burning out. Burnout isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it looks like a successful life with a quiet collapse inside it. It's waking up tired after 8 hours of sleep. It needs caffeine just to feel normal. It's scrolling for relief and feeling worse after. It's procrastination not because you're lazy, because starting feels heavy. It's having goals but no fire, plans but no energy. And the cruel part? Burnout often happens to the most responsible people. The ones who show up, the ones who carry it, the ones who don't want to disappoint anyone. Across the USA, UK, Canada, Europe, and Australia, the story is similar. Work is intense, costs are rising, the future is uncertain, and everyone is told to keep grinding as if human beings were machines with unlimited battery life. But a machine doesn't have emotions. A machine doesn't have anxiety. A machine doesn't have a nervous system. You do. And your nervous system is not designed for endless urgency. 1. Burnout is not a time problem, it's a meaning problem. People often describe burnout as too much work. But many people work long hours without burning out, when they have control, clarity, and recovery. Burnout grows when effort feels endless and unrewarded, when your brain can't see progress, when your work doesn't match your values, when you feel trapped inside a life you didn't fully choose. The psychologist William James wrote, "The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another." Burnout isn't fixed by a weekend off. It's fixed by changing the internal story that turns your life into a constant emergency. Because if everything is urgent, then nothing is sustainable. So here's the first mindset shift. Your goal is not to do more. Your goal is to last longer, at a high level. That's the new hustle. Not louder, not faster, not busier, stronger, clear, consistent. 2. The old hustle made discipline look like self-punishment. For years, hustle culture glamorized exhaustion. It rewarded stress as proof of seriousness. But real discipline is not violence toward yourself. Real discipline is leadership. Think of the best leaders you've seen, at work, in sports, in life. They don't scream, "Work harder," every minute. They build systems. They set priorities. They protect energy. They plan recovery. Discipline, at its highest form, is self-respect in action. Seneca, who lived through political turmoil and constant threats, warned, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Notice what he didn't say. He didn't say, "Work endlessly." He said, "Don't waste your life on what doesn't matter." Burnout is often a signal that your days are being spent on the wrong things, or in the wrong way. 3. The modern trap, productivity without purpose. The modern world sells productivity like a religion. To-do lists, optimization, morning routines, side hustles, personal brands, 10 ways to wake up earlier, 20 ways to be more efficient. But efficiency isn't the same as effectiveness. Efficiency is doing things faster. Effectiveness is doing the right things. You can be extremely productive and still feel like you're losing. That's because the brain doesn't get satisfied from busyness. It gets satisfied from progress. So let's define progress clearly. Progress equals energy spent on what matters most. That's why two people can work the same hours, but only one feels fulfilled. One spends their day reacting emails, messages, random tasks, drama. The other spends their day moving a few meaningful needles. 4. The new hustle rule number 1. Protect your deep hours. If you want to win in this decade, you need something rare. The ability to focus deeply. Focus is not just a productivity tool. It's a mental health tool. Because a distracted mind becomes an anxious mind. A fragmented mind becomes a tired mind. Your brain needs time where it's not switching tasks, not scanning threats, not consuming endless content. It needs a stretch of quiet seriousness. So here's a rule you can live by. Every day, earn 1 hour of deep work. 1 hour where you build, study, write, train, create, apply, without interruption. Not 4 hours. Not a perfect routine. Just 1 hour. If you can do 1 hour a day consistently, you will outpace people who hustle in chaos for 10 hours. Because chaos creates motion, not momentum. And momentum is what makes life feel like it's moving. 5. The new hustle rule number 2. Stop negotiating with your future. Burnout often grows from daily betrayal. You tell yourself you'll start tomorrow. You tell yourself you'll fix it next week. You tell yourself you'll take care of your health when things calm down. But when things calm down is a myth. Life doesn't calm down. You get stronger. A disciplined person isn't someone who always feels motivated. A disciplined person is someone who keeps promises to themselves, even small ones. Not big, dramatic promises. Small, boring promises. Drink water. Take the walk. Do the 30 minutes. Send the email. Read the pages. Sleep on time. And here's what happens when you keep small promises. Your brain starts trusting you. Confidence is not a feeling. Confidence is a record. 6. The new hustle rule number 3. Recovery is not laziness, it's strategy. In the old hustle mindset, rest was guilt. In the new hustle mindset, recovery is part of the plan. Because you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits, and your recovery habits decide how high you can climb. You don't need more intensity. You need better rhythm. Work, recover, repeat. Not work, collapse. There's a reason elite athletes don't train at maximum intensity every day. They cycle effort. They protect sleep. They respect biology. The modern winner does the same. A simple reset you can start today. If you feel burnt out, don't try to fix your life in one heroic day. Start with this 3-part reset. 1 hour of deep work, the thing that moves your future. 1 body anchor, walk, gym, stretch, something physical. 1 recovery boundary, a cutoff time for screens or work. Do that for 7 days and you'll feel something return. Not perfection. The point of this chapter. The new hustle is not about doing less. It's about doing what matters, without destroying yourself in the process. The old hustle says, if you're tired, push harder. The new hustle asks, if you're tired, what system is broken? Because the goal is not to be impressive. The goal is to be unbreakable. And that leads us to the next chapter, where we'll attack the quiet enemy behind burnout, anxiety, and procrastination, the invisible force that keeps you reactive, scattered, and always behind. In Chapter 2, we'll talk about the attention economy and how to reclaim your focus in a world designed to steal it. Chapter 2, You versus the noise. Reclaim your focus in a world built to distract you. Your life is shaped less by your talent and more by what you pay attention to. That sounds simple, almost obvious, until you realize something uncomfortable. Attention is now the most profitable resource on Earth. Not oil. Not real estate. Not data. Because whoever controls your attention controls your decisions. What you buy, what you fear, what you believe, what you aspire to, and who you become. And in the USA, the UK, Canada, Europe, and Australia, the attention economy doesn't just exist. It dominates daily life. News cycles compete like entertainment. Social media rewards outrage. Algorithms learn your weak points faster than you do. Work follows you home through email and Slack. Even rest has become content. So if you feel constantly behind, constantly distracted, constantly tired, there's a reason. It's not that you lack discipline. It's that you're living inside a system designed to fracture it. The good news is this: focus isn't a personality trait. It's a skill. And when you learn it, you don't just become more productive. You become harder to manipulate. 1. The hidden cost of distraction. Your mind becomes reactive. A distracted mind doesn't choose. It reacts to notifications. It reacts to headlines. It reacts to other people's opinions. It reacts to fear disguised as staying informed. Reactivity feels like activity, but it produces very little progress. And over time, reactivity trains a deeper habit, avoidance. Because when your brain is overloaded, it starts trying to escape discomfort through quick relief: scrolling, snacking, entertainment, unnecessary research, busy work. This is why people with high potential sometimes look lazy. They aren't lazy. They're overstimulated and underdirected. The philosopher Blaise Pascal wrote, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." In the modern world, we don't just struggle to sit quietly. We struggle to be alone with our own thoughts. Because the moment silence appears, we reach for a screen. But your breakthroughs don't happen in noise. They happen when you can think long enough to hear yourself. 2. The attention economy doesn't want you focused, it wants you hooked. Here's the brutal truth. Most platforms are not competing to make you smarter. They are competing to keep you there. The business model is simple. The longer you stay, the more ads you see, the more you click, the more you buy, the more predictable you become. This is not a moral speech. It's just reality. And the psychological tools are powerful. Intermittent rewards, you never know what you'll see next. Social validation, likes, comments, views. Outrage and fear, because emotion drives sharing. Endless novelty, so your brain never settles. If you've ever opened your phone, for one thing, and looked up 20 minutes later confused, nothing is wrong with you. That's how it's engineered. But motivation isn't enough to beat an engineered system. You need strategy. 3. Focus is not trying harder. Focus is designing your environment. Most people treat focus like a personal virtue. They say, "I need more willpower." They say, "I need to stop being lazy." They say, "I just need to concentrate." But willpower is a limited fuel. The environment is a multiplier. A focused life is built the way a strong building is built, with structure. The psychologist William James put it plainly, "My experience is what I agree to attend to." So the real question is, what are you agreeing to attend to every day, by default? Because default attention creates default life. And default life is usually somebody else's plan for you. 4. The modern skill that separates winners. Single task intensity. Multitasking has become a badge of honor. But it's often just a socially acceptable form of distraction. When you multitask, your brain is not doing two things at once. It is switching rapidly, paying a cognitive tax every time. That tax shows up as mental fatigue, irritability, and the sense that your day disappeared without results. Single task intensity is different. It's when you choose one meaningful task and bring your full mind to it. It's when you stop living in fragments. And at first, it feels uncomfortable, because a distracted brain is addicted to novelty. The first minutes of focus can feel like withdrawal. You want to check. You want to scan. You want relief. That discomfort is not a sign you're failing. It's a sign you're regaining control. 5. The noise audit, a practical reset you can do today. If you want a real change, don't start by being more disciplined. Start by performing a noise audit, because you can't fix what you refuse to measure. For the next 24 hours, notice and write down. The first thing you do when you wake up, how often you check your phone without a reason, which apps you open automatically, what triggers your scrolling, boredom, stress, uncertainty, loneliness. When you feel most distracted, morning, midday, late night. You're not judging yourself. You're collecting data. Because once you see your pattern, you can interrupt it. And interruption is power. 6. The focus protocol. 3 rules that actually work. Here are 3 rules used by high performers. Not because they're superhuman, but because they respect attention the way athletes respect sleep. Rule 1. One screen rule. During deep work, if you're doing focused work, you don't also have social media open. You don't also have random tabs open. You don't also have notifications on. If you need music, use something non-lyrical or ambient. If you need reference material, open it intentionally, not as a doorway into 10 unrelated rabbit holes. Rule 2. Schedule distraction on purpose. This sounds strange, but it's effective. Tell your brain, you can scroll later. Pick a specific window, 20 minutes, once or twice a day. When distraction is scheduled, it loses its power as an escape hatch. You stop bargaining with yourself every 5 minutes. You don't become a monk. You become strategic. Rule 3. Protect the first hour of your day. The first hour decides your mental posture. If you start your day with headlines, messages, and social feeds, you begin in reaction mode, your nervous system hijacked by other people's agendas. If you start your day with intention, water, movement, planning, reading, deep work, you begin in leadership mode. Not perfect, just intentional. The ancient Stoic Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." In modern terms, if you want to take your focus back, you must be willing to look unavailable. Slow to reply. Less online. Less reactive. More selective. Some people will misread your boundaries as arrogance. Let them. Your future requires you to do what distracted people won't. 7. Your attention is also emotional. Be careful what you consume. In Western countries right now, many people are consuming a daily diet of conflict, crisis, negativity, comparison, cynicism. Then they wonder why they feel anxious and unmotivated. Your mind is not separate from what you feed it. If you want a calmer brain, you must reduce unnecessary mental violence. This doesn't mean ignorance. It means filtration. Stay informed, but don't live inside a panic machine. There's a difference between knowledge and noise. 8. Focus creates identity, and identity creates momentum. Here's where everything clicks. When you reclaim your attention, you start reclaiming your identity. You stop being someone who's trying. You become someone who follows through. And that identity shift is rocket fuel. Because once you see yourself as focused, disciplined, and calm, your actions begin aligning naturally. You stop negotiating with distractions because they no longer match who you are. This is why attention is a spiritual issue as much as a practical one. Your attention is your life. The point of this chapter. Your focus is under attack, but it's not hopeless. You don't need to escape modern life. You need to build a mind that can live inside it without being owned by it. You don't win by consuming more information. You win by applying more intention. And once you reclaim your focus, something surprising happens. You start noticing the deeper problem beneath distraction. Because many people aren't just distracted. They're avoiding the fear of uncertainty, especially in a world where careers shift, economies fluctuate, and technology rewrites the rules. Which leads to the next chapter. At the end of chapter 2, ask yourself this question and be honest. If you had perfect focus, what would you be forced to confront? In chapter 3, we're going to talk about uncertainty and how to build a future-proof mindset in the age of AI, job instability, and constant change. Chapter 3, Future-proof you. Confidence in the age of AI, layoffs, and reinvention. Uncertainty is no longer a season. It's the climate. In the USA, people watch layoffs ripple through industries that once felt untouchable. In the UK, the cost of living pressure makes long-term planning feel like guesswork. In Canada and Australia, housing and affordability shape life decisions like gravity. Across Europe, energy, geopolitics, and shifting labor markets keep the future unstable. And over everything sits the same question, sometimes spoken, often silent. Will I still be valuable in 5 years? AI accelerates that fear. Not just because it can write, design, code, analyze, but because it forces a deeper confrontation. Maybe the rules you were trained for are changing faster than you can adapt. So if you feel anxious right now, it doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're awake. But you can't build a great life while your mind is constantly scanning for danger. You need a way to stand in uncertainty without collapsing into panic. This chapter is about how. 1. The mistake, trying to predict the future instead of preparing for it. Most people respond to uncertainty by chasing certainty. They hunt for the perfect career path, the safe industry, the guaranteed strategy, the one right choice. But the modern world punishes people who need guarantees, because guarantees require stability, and stability is not promised. The economist John Maynard Keynes famously wrote, "In the long run we are all dead." It's a blunt line, but it carries a useful lesson. The future is not something you fully control, and waiting for perfect clarity is its own form of risk. So the goal is not prediction. The goal is preparedness. Preparedness is a mindset and a method. 2. What future-proof really means: portable value. You don't future-proof yourself by clinging to a job title. You future-proof yourself by building portable value, skills and traits that travel across industries, technologies, and economies. Think of it as your personal currency. When one market changes, you still hold value. Portable value looks like communication, clear writing, speaking, persuasion. Problem-solving, diagnosis, structure, decision-making. Emotional regulation, staying calm under pressure. Learning speed, adapting faster than others. Execution, turning ideas into outcomes. Relationships, trust and reputation. Here's the part most people miss. AI doesn't only replace tasks. It also raises the standard. When tools become more powerful, the winners aren't the ones who complain. They're the ones who learn to direct the tools. So a future-proof mindset isn't, "AI won't affect me." It's, "I will become the person who can use change." 3. The fear behind career anxiety, identity collapse. When people fear job instability, they're often fearing something deeper than money. They're fearing identity collapse. Because for many people, work is not just income. It's status, structure, self-worth, and social belonging. When that becomes unstable, it can feel like the floor is moving. That's why uncertainty creates emotional extremes. Doom scrolling, compulsive upskilling without direction, paralysis, anger, denial, impulsive quitting. Starting over every month. But strength is not pretending you don't care. Strength is being able to say, "Yes, this is uncertain, and I'm still capable." The Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote, "He who suffers before it is necessary, suffers more than is necessary." A lot of modern anxiety is pre-suffering, living the worst-case scenario in your head on repeat. It burns energy you need for actual adaptation. For the adaptability triangle, learn, build, signal. If you want a simple model for thriving in unstable times, use this: learn, build, signal. Learn. Acquire skills that increase your leverage. Build. Create proof, projects, results, experience. Signal. Make your value visible to the market. Many people only do learn. They watch videos, read threads, buy courses. It feels productive, but it can become a hiding place. The market doesn't reward what you consume. It rewards what you produce. So future-proofing requires building. Build a portfolio. Build a small business. Build a side project. Build a body of work. Build a reputation. Not because you need hustle for ego. Because you need options for freedom. 5. The new confidence. Being employable is not enough. In the past, the goal was employability. A good CV, a stable role, the right credentials. Now the stronger goal is optionality. Optionality means you can change jobs without desperation, you can negotiate without fear, you can pivot without losing yourself, you can adapt without starting from zero. Optionality comes from two things: skills that transfer, a financial buffer, even small. This is not about becoming rich overnight. It's about reducing the fear that makes you small. Because fear is expensive. It makes you accept bad environments. It makes you tolerate disrespect. It makes you stay stuck. When you build optionality, your nervous system relaxes and your decision-making improves. 6. A practical exercise. The 5-year value plan, simple, not perfect. Take a sheet of paper or open a note and write, in 5 years, regardless of the economy, I want to be valuable because I can. Your skill 1, skill 2, skill 3. Now ask, if I had to prove that in 60 days, what could I build? Could be a case study, a writing series, a small app, a design portfolio, a consulting offer, a certification plus a project, a community, a measurable work outcome. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for proof. Proof turns anxiety into traction. 7. The psychological edge. Stop tying your worth to your output. Here's a paradox. To thrive in a high-performance world, you must work hard. But to stay mentally healthy, you must not tie your identity to constant achievement. If your self-worth depends on your productivity, you will never feel safe. Because productivity fluctuates, energy fluctuates, markets fluctuate. Your worth has to be deeper than your output. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived the concentration camps, wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." That doesn't mean accepting defeat. It means shifting your foundation from external certainty to internal stability. The future-proof person is not the one with the perfect plan. It's the one with the stable mind. 8. The future-proof principles. Say them like a personal code. Use these as your operating code. I don't need certainty to act. I need clarity on the next step. I build skills that travel. I create proof, not just potential. I measure progress weekly, not emotionally. I'm not my job title. I am my habits. Change is not a threat. It is a test of leadership. This isn't toxic positivity. It's mental posture. The same economy can crush one person and forge another. The difference is not luck alone. It's how quickly they adapt and how calmly. The point of this chapter: the world will continue to change. There will be new tools, new disruptions, new crises, new opportunities. Some of them will be unfair. Some will be unpredictable. Some will be frightening. But you don't need to win every year. You need to become the kind of person who can rebuild. And if you can do that, you gain something rare. Not the certainty that nothing will go wrong, but the confidence that you will be capable when it does. Now, this is where many people get stuck. They learn. They plan. They even start building. But they still hesitate at the moment of action. Because they don't just fear failure. They fear discomfort, rejection, embarrassment, discipline, the loneliness of doing the work when no one is clapping yet. So in the next chapter, we're going to deal with the real engine behind consistency. Not motivation, not talent. In Chapter 4, we'll build the unbreakable identity, the part of you that keeps going even when feelings change, results are slow, and nobody is watching. Chapter 4, Unbreakable Identity. Become the person who always follows through. Most people don't fail because they lack information. They fail because they can't keep an agreement with themselves. They know what to do. They've watched the videos, saved the posts, made the plans. They've even started, many times. Then life happens. Mood changes. Energy drops. A stressful week arrives. A new distraction appears. And the goal gets postponed again. Not because the person is weak. Because their identity is unstable. In unstable times, economically, socially, technologically, your identity becomes your anchor. Without it, you drift between motivation and exhaustion. You become a person who tries, not a person who does. This chapter is about building the kind of identity that holds, under pressure, under distraction, under uncertainty. An identity that makes follow-through automatic. 1. Your behavior is loyal to your identity. Your habits are not random. They are votes for the kind of person you believe you are. If you believe you're not disciplined, you will find proof. If you believe you always mess up, you will act accordingly. If you believe you can't focus, you'll treat distraction as inevitable. Identity is powerful because it runs in the background. It doesn't argue. It just decides. The psychologist William James described something that still applies today. Habit is the enormous flywheel of society, its most precious conservative agent. A flywheel keeps spinning once it's moving, but it also resists change. So the question is not, how do I become motivated? The question is, what identity is my current behavior protecting? Because even self-sabotage protects something: comfort, familiarity, avoidance of risk, avoidance of judgment. 2. The modern enemy, a fragmented self. In earlier times, identity came from stable structures: community, religion, long-term careers, smaller social circles. Now identity is constantly pulled apart by online comparison, by competing ideologies, by curated lifestyles, by changing job markets, by pressure to be everything at once. You're expected to be ambitious and relaxed, productive and always available, informed and not anxious, attractive and authentic, successful and humble. It creates a fragmented self. One part of you wants growth, another part wants comfort, another part wants approval. No wonder follow-through feels hard. You're negotiating with yourself all day. The philosopher Soren Kierkegaard wrote, "Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom." Modern life offers endless choice, endless possible selves. That freedom can be empowering, but it can also make you unstable. An unbreakable identity doesn't mean a rigid personality. It means a clear core. 3. Identity is not what you claim, it's what you practice in private. Many people think identity is positive self-talk. I am confident. I am disciplined. I am unstoppable. But the mind doesn't accept slogans as truth. It accepts evidence. Identity is built through credible proof. That proof doesn't have to be dramatic. It has to be consistent. One workout, one deep work session, one honest conversation, one promise kept, one boundary held. And then another. Aristotle is often credited with the idea, we are what we repeatedly do. Whether or not you've heard it before, the principle is real. Repetition shapes identity, and identity shapes repetition, a loop. The goal is to get the loop working in your favor. 4. The identity shift method. I am the kind of person who. Here's a powerful tool you can use immediately. Choose one identity statement that matches the life you want. I am the kind of person who does the hard thing first. I am the kind of person who finishes what I start. I am the kind of person who trains even when I don't feel like it. I am the kind of person who tells the truth and keeps my word. I am the kind of person who doesn't need chaos to feel alive. Now, this is the key. Tie it to a small behavior that proves it daily. Not an extreme behavior. A behavior so small you can do it on a bad day. Because unbreakable identity isn't built on your best days. It's built on your worst days, when you still show up. A small example, if your identity is, I am the kind of person who keeps promises, your proof could be, every day, I do 20 minutes on my highest priority task before checking social media. That's it. It's not glamorous, but it's powerful, because it's repeatable. 5. The 2 promises rule. Stop making big promises you can't keep. Burnout and inconsistency often come from unrealistic self-demands. You can say, I'll wake up at 5 a.m. every day. I'll go to the gym 6 times a week. I'll cut all sugar. I'll build a side business in 1 month. Then you miss a day and conclude, I'm not that person. That's not failure. That's poor strategy. Instead, adopt the 2 promises rule. Promise number 1, the minimum. The smallest version of the habit that maintains identity. Promise number 2, the ideal. The full version you do when energy and time allow. For example, minimum, 10 minutes of reading or skill building. Ideal, 60 minutes of study plus notes plus application. On hard days, you protect the minimum. On good days, you enjoy the ideal. This is how you become consistent without becoming fragile. 6. Identity needs boundaries. Your no is part of your new self. An unbreakable identity is not just what you do. It's also what you refuse. In modern culture, many people are trained to be endlessly available, to work, to social demands, to family pressure, to group chats, to obligations they didn't choose. But if you never say no, your life becomes a series of other people's priorities. And then you wonder why your goals don't move. Saying no is not selfish. It's clarity. Mahatma Gandhi famously said, "A man is but the product of his thoughts. What he thinks, he becomes." And thoughts become actions, and actions require time and energy. If your energy is constantly spent on noise and obligation, your identity will be built by default. An unbreakable identity includes boundaries like, I don't answer work messages after a certain hour. I don't scroll in bed. I don't explain my goals to people committed to misunderstanding them. I don't trade sleep for entertainment. These are not restrictions. They are protections. 7. The private victory. Do something daily that no one can clap for. There's a strange weakness that spreads in online culture. Dependence on visibility. If it's not posted, it doesn't feel real. If it's not liked, it doesn't feel valuable. But if you want a strong identity, you must train yourself to respect invisible progress. Because most great transformations are invisible at first. Quiet workouts, private study, unseen practice, early nights. Savings built slowly. Skill developed in silence. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." In modern language, stop performing growth. Start embodying it. A daily private victory could be writing one page, doing one set of push-ups, learning 10 minutes of a skill, meditating 5 minutes, cleaning your space, sending one difficult message you've been avoiding. Something small. Done daily. No applause needed. That is identity training. 8. The identity you need in this decade. Calm consistency. In a world addicted to drama, calm is a competitive advantage. In a world of quick dopamine, consistency is rare. And in a world of constant comparison, self-respect is revolutionary. Your unbreakable identity for this decade can be summarized as, I am calm. I am consistent. I finish. Not because you feel calm every day. Not because you never struggle. But because you return to the standard. Again and again. The point of this chapter. Follow-through is not a personality trait. It's an identity decision supported by small daily proof. When you build an unbreakable identity, you stop relying on motivation, you stop negotiating with distractions, you stop collapsing under uncertainty, you start trusting yourself. And self-trust is the foundation of every successful life. But now we need to address the next obstacle, one that destroys discipline even in strong people. Your emotions. Because you can have a clear identity and still get taken out by anxiety, anger, loneliness, or self-doubt. You can still reach for quick relief. You can still self-sabotage when feelings spike. So the next chapter is about emotional mastery, not emotional suppression. In Chapter 5, we'll learn how to regulate your emotions, break the stress loop, and turn pressure into power, without pretending you're fine when you're not. Chapter 5. Turn pressure into power. Emotional mastery for real life. Most people think the strongest person is the one who never feels fear. But the strongest person is the one who can feel fear, and still choose their next move. In the modern West, pressure isn't rare. It's routine. Pressure to earn more while everything costs more. Pressure to keep up with changing technology. Pressure to stay healthy while time disappears. Pressure to look fine even when you're not. Pressure to be productive while your mind is loud. And here's what makes it harder. Pressure is no longer only external. It's internalized. You don't just feel stress from life. You stress yourself with your own thoughts, replaying the past, predicting disasters, comparing your life to people's highlights. So this chapter isn't going to tell you to think positive. It's going to give you something better, a way to work with your emotions so they stop driving your decisions. 1. Emotions are not the enemy, unmanaged emotions are. Emotions are signals. They are information. Anxiety can signal uncertainty or lack of preparation. Anger can signal violated boundaries. Sadness can signal loss or unmet needs. Shame can signal fear of judgment or rejection. But signals become problems when they become dictators. When anxiety decides what you avoid. When anger decides how you speak. When shame decides how small you play. When loneliness decides who you attach yourself to. The philosopher and theologian Thomas Aquinas wrote, "There is nothing so much under the control of reason as the emotions. Not denied. Not destroyed. Controlled, guided." Emotional mastery is not becoming cold. It's becoming clear. 2. The modern stress loop. Thought, body, behavior, more stress. Stress isn't just in your head. It's in your body. A stressful thought triggers the nervous system. The nervous system creates physical sensations, tight chest, shallow breath, racing heart. Those sensations feel like danger. So you act to reduce discomfort, scrolling, overreading, snapping, procrastinating, numbing. Then you feel guilty or behind. And the next stressful thought hits harder. That's the loop. If you want to become resilient, you don't start by arguing with every thought. You start by interrupting the loop, especially through the body. The psychologist William James observed a principle still used in modern therapy. We feel sorry because we cry, angry because we strike, afraid because we tremble. In other words, physiology and emotion are linked. Change one, and you influence the other. 3. The first skill, name it accurately. A surprising number of people can't regulate emotions because they can't label them. They say, "I'm stressed," when they're actually overwhelmed, ashamed, lonely, resentful, uncertain, mentally exhausted. Naming matters because the solution changes depending on the emotion. Try this practice. When you feel pressure rising, pause and say, "Right now, I'm feeling," because, for examples, I'm anxious because I don't have a plan for this. I'm angry because I'm overgiving and underrespected. I'm overwhelmed because my tasks are undefined. I'm lonely because I replaced connection with content. This isn't weakness. It's leadership. Once you can name it, you can work with it. 4. The second skill, regulate your nervous system in 90 seconds. Emotions often arrive like weather, sudden, powerful, physical. You don't think your way out of a storm while you're inside it. You stabilize first. Here's a simple, practical method you can use anywhere. The 90-second reset. Inhale through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold for 2 seconds. Exhale slowly through your mouth for 6 seconds. Repeat 5 times. Longer exhale tells the body, you are not under immediate threat. Do this before hard conversations. Before opening email. Before responding to a message that triggers you. Before you decide to procrastinate. You're not trying to become calm forever. You're trying to become calm enough to choose wisely. 5. The third skill, separate pain from suffering. Pain is part of growth. Discomfort is part of discipline. Rejection is part of building anything real. Uncertainty is part of living in a changing world. But suffering is the mental story that multiplies pain. The Stoic Epictetus said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them." 2 people can experience the same setback. One sees it as information. The other sees it as identity damage. One says, "This is hard." The other says, "This means I'm doomed." The suffering comes from the second sentence. So train yourself to speak in clean language. This is uncomfortable. Clean. I can't handle this. Suffering. I made a mistake. Clean. I always ruin everything. Suffering. I feel anxious. Clean. Something is wrong with me. Suffering. Clean language keeps your mind strong. 6. Pressure can become fuel if you give it a job. Pressure is energy. If you don't direct it, it becomes anxiety. If you direct it, it becomes action. So when you feel pressure, ask a power question. What is this pressure asking me to do, specifically? For examples, if you feel financial pressure, what expense can I reduce? What skill increases my income? What plan can I draft this week? If you feel career pressure, what proof can I build in 30 days? Who can I reach out to? What project can I finish? If you feel relationship pressure, what boundary have I avoided? What truth am I not saying? Pressure without direction becomes panic. Pressure with direction becomes purpose. Winston Churchill, speaking on endurance in crisis, is widely quoted as saying, "If you're going through hell, keep going." But keep going doesn't mean mindless pushing. It means moving with intent. 7. Emotional discipline. Do not decide your life in a temporary mood. Some of the worst decisions are made in emotional spikes. Quitting impulsively, sending the message you can't take back, buying something to feel better, cutting people off out of pride, staying silent out of fear. So adopt a personal rule. No major decisions when you are hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. This is practical wisdom, not a slogan. Delay the decision. You regulate, sleep, eat, walk. Then decide. The quality of your life depends on the quality of your decisions. The quality of your decisions depends on your emotional state. 8. The Stress to Strength Daily Practice, 10 minutes. If you want this chapter to change your life, don't just listen, practice. Each day, do this. Write one stressor you're carrying. Write the honest emotion beneath it. Write the next controllable action, small, real. Do the 90-second reset. Take the action immediately if possible. This trains a new identity. I don't run from pressure. I convert it. Over time, this becomes what people call mental toughness. But it's not toughness like aggression. It's toughness like steadiness. The point of this chapter: your emotions don't disqualify you. They inform you. But if you let them drive, they will take you places you don't want to go. Emotional mastery is the bridge between your plans and your execution. It's what keeps you consistent when life becomes loud. And now that you can regulate pressure, a new question appears. What do you do when the pressure isn't just internal, when it's social? When you're surrounded by negativity, weak standards, cynicism, constant complaining, or people who subtly punish your growth? Because environment can either multiply your strength or drain it daily. That's next. In Chapter 6, we'll talk about influence, how to protect your mindset from toxic inputs, choose better circles, and build social strength in an age of loneliness and comparison. Chapter 6, Your Circle, Your Standards. Build social strength in an age of loneliness. There's a quiet crisis spreading across the USA, the UK, Canada, Europe, and Australia. It doesn't always show up in headlines, but it shows up in people. In tired eyes. In short tempers. In numb routines. It's not only financial stress. It's not only politics. It's not only technology. It's a disconnection. More people are connected than ever and feel more alone than ever. Friendships fade into group chats. Relationships become disposable. Community gets replaced by content. And many adults are living without a real circle. No trusted people, no honest feedback, no deep support. At the same time, people are surrounded by constant influence, opinions, anger, comparison, performative lifestyles. So if your mindset has felt harder to protect lately, understand this. You are not only fighting your thoughts. You are fighting your inputs. This chapter is about reclaiming one of the most underestimated forces in your life, your environment, your circle, your standards. 1. You become what you repeatedly hear. Mindset is not just internal. It's social. The conversations you repeat become the beliefs you live by. If the people around you constantly talk about how everything is rigged, how nothing matters, how hard work is pointless, how they hate their job but will never leave, how successful people are lucky or corrupt, your brain absorbs that as reality. Not because you're gullible, because humans are designed to synchronize with their tribe. The poet and philosopher Johann Wolfgang von Goethe is often quoted as saying, "Tell me with whom you associate, and I will tell you who you are." Not perfectly, but enough to matter. Your circle doesn't just affect your mood, it affects your standards. And your standards decide your destiny. 2. The modern trap, social proximity without real intimacy. Many people have social contact without support. They talk to colleagues, they reply to messages, they share memes, they keep up with people online. But they don't have someone who tells them the truth, someone who challenges them, someone who listens without competing, someone who holds them to their own values. This is how loneliness can exist even inside a busy life. And loneliness isn't only emotional. It's motivational. When you feel alone, discipline becomes harder. Goals feel less meaningful. Bad habits become comforting. This is not a character flaw. It's human biology. Aristotle wrote, "Man is by nature a social animal." So if you're trying to build a strong life in isolation, you're trying to climb with one arm. 3. The first rule, stop letting low standards feel normal. Low standards are contagious. If your circle normalizes constant complaining, binge drinking every weekend, staying in relationships that drain them, trashing ambitious people, living for short-term pleasure, disrespecting sleep, health, and stability, it becomes normal. And when low standards become normal, high standards feel extreme. This is one of the most dangerous psychological flips in modern life. You start feeling guilty for improving. You start shrinking to avoid being judged. You start performing humility by staying small. But real humility is not hiding your potential. Real humility is being honest about what you're capable of and doing the work. 4. The second rule, choose people by values, not vibes. A lot of people choose friends based on familiarity, history, or convenience. But the older you get, the more your circle should be chosen by values. You can ask, do they keep their word? Do they respect boundaries? Are they honest or constantly performative? Do they take responsibility or blame everything? Do they grow or stagnate? Do you feel clearer after talking to them or heavier? This is not about judging people as good or bad. It's about recognizing influence. Influence is real whether you admit it or not. The Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And your thoughts are often echoes of your environment. 5. The circle audit, a tool for immediate clarity. You don't need to cut everyone off dramatically. You need to see clearly. Do a circle audit with 3 columns. Column A, expanders. People who elevate you through honesty, encouragement, standards, or calm. Column B, neutral. Good people, but not aligned with the life you're building. Column C, drainers. People who consistently pull you into drama, negativity, weakness, or temptation. Now, important, drainers aren't always evil. Sometimes they're simply stuck. Sometimes they're hurting. Sometimes they're addicted to chaos. But you are not obligated to drown with them. A mature life requires selective closeness. You can be kind without being accessible. 6. Boundaries, the price of self-respect. Many people fear boundaries because they fear conflict. They'd rather be drained than disliked. But if you have no boundaries, you will spend your life paying for other people's lack of discipline, lack of planning, lack of emotional regulation. A boundary is not a punishment. It's a statement of truth. I can't talk about this right now. I'm not available after 9 p.m. I'm not drinking tonight. I'm not discussing this if we can't be respectful. I'm focusing on my goals this year. The writer and philosopher Henry David Thoreau wrote, "The price of anything is the amount of life you exchange for it." If you exchange your evenings, your peace, your focus, your health, then what are you buying? Sometimes you're buying acceptance. But acceptance that costs your future is too expensive. 7. Build connections strategically, where strong circles come from now. In adulthood, strong circles don't just happen. They are built through shared standards and repeated proximity. So instead of waiting for perfect friends to appear, place yourself where your future circle lives: gyms and training groups, professional communities, volunteering, classes and workshops, entrepreneurship networks, book clubs, sports clubs, faith communities, if aligned, local meetups. This matters across every region: US, UK, Canada, Europe, Australia, because modern life has become private and isolated. People commute, work remotely, scroll at night, repeat. You must design connections the way you design focus, intentionally. And here's a key: be the kind of person you want to meet. Be reliable, curious, kind, strong, consistent. That's how you attract quality relationships, by embodying quality. 8. The loneliness myth. I have to do everything alone. There's a romantic myth that real strength is solitary, that you should carry everything quietly, handle everything yourself, never need help. But that myth creates fragile people, people who break in private. Strong people ask for support early. They get coaching. They seek mentors. They build partnerships. They talk to someone before the problem becomes a crisis. This is not a weakness. It's intelligence. Even the strongest minds in history relied on circles. Writers had editors, leaders had advisors, thinkers had peers. No one builds a great life completely alone. The point of this chapter: your circle is not a decoration in your life. It is a force. It shapes what you tolerate. It shapes what you attempt. It shapes what you believe is possible. So choose your inputs. Choose your standards. Choose your closeness. Because the future you want will demand higher standards than the past you survived. And once you start upgrading your environment, something else becomes obvious. Many people aren't failing because they lack potential. They're failing because their daily system is weak. They rely on mood, not structure. Inspiration, not routine. Motivation, not process. So in the next chapter, we're going to build what makes success inevitable. A system that works even when you don't feel like it. In Chapter 7, we'll build your daily discipline system. Simple, realistic, and powerful, so your progress becomes automatic. Chapter 7. The Discipline System. Make progress automatic, even on bad days. Most people misunderstand discipline. They think discipline is a personality trait, something you either have or you don't. They imagine disciplined people as permanently motivated, endlessly energetic, almost robotic. But discipline isn't magic. Discipline is design. When you design your days well, you don't need heroic willpower. You don't need to win a motivational battle every morning. Your environment, routines, and triggers quietly carry you forward. And in a decade shaped by distraction, uncertainty, and overload, discipline is no longer optional. It's the difference between drifting and building, reacting and leading, coping and thriving. The French writer Antoine de Saint wrote, "A goal without a plan is just a wish. Discipline is the plan made visible." 1. Why motivation fails. It's emotionally expensive. Motivation is real, but unreliable. It depends on mood, sleep, stress, weather, hormones, recent wins, and recent disappointments. When motivation is your main engine, your progress becomes a gamble. Some days you feel unstoppable. Other days you can barely start. That inconsistency isn't just frustrating, it's identity eroding. Each time you don't follow through, your brain quietly records, "We don't keep promises." That's why disciplined people don't build their lives on motivation. They build on systems. A system doesn't ask how you feel. It asks what you do next. 2. The discipline equation. Clarity plus structure plus tracking. If you want discipline that lasts, keep it simple. Clarity, what matters most right now? Structure, when and where will you do it? Tracking, did you do it, yes or no? Most people skip the middle step. They have goals without structure. I'll work out more. I'll start my business. I'll study. I'll write. But without a specific time and place, your brain treats it as optional. Structure makes it real. And tracking makes it undeniable. 3. The one thing rule. Stop trying to fix your whole life at once. In uncertain times, especially across high-cost, high-pressure environments, people often respond by trying to overhaul everything. New diet, new routine, new career plan, new habits, new identity, overnight. That looks ambitious, but it's usually fear. Fear says, change everything now, so I can finally feel safe. But safety doesn't come from massive plans. It comes from consistent proof. So here's the one thing rule. Pick one primary target for the next 30 days. For examples: fitness, train 3 times a week. Career, build one portfolio project. Money, Track spending daily. Mental health. Sleep by 11 p.m. Focus. 1 hour of deep work daily. This isn't limiting. It's intelligent. Because momentum comes from winning repeatedly, not attempting everything and collapsing. For the keystone habit. One habit that upgrades everything else. A keystone habit is a habit that creates a chain reaction. For many people, the best keystone habit is one of these. Consistent sleep timing, daily movement, 1 hour of deep work, morning planning, clean food baseline. Pick the one that changes your life the fastest. Then build your day around it like it's sacred. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Your keystone habit becomes part of your why. It becomes a daily act of self-respect. 5. The minimum viable discipline. MVD, the habit you do even when life hits. Here's what separates real discipline from performative discipline. Performative discipline is intense on good weeks. Real discipline survives bad weeks. So create a minimum viable discipline version of your habit, something so small you can still do it when you're tired, busy, stressed, or traveling. For examples, fitness MVD, 10 minutes of movement. Deep work MVD, 15 minutes focused, phone away. Writing MVD, 100 words. Money MVD, record spending for 2 minutes. Learning MVD, 1 page plus 1 note. This isn't lowering standards. It's protecting identity. Because the goal is not intensity. The goal is continuity. Continuity builds trust. Trust builds confidence. Confidence builds consistency. 6. Use cues, not courage, the habit loop. A disciplined life is built on cues. Same time, same place, same trigger. For example, after coffee, 20 minutes writing. After work, gym. After brushing teeth, plan tomorrow. After lunch, 15-minute walk. After dinner, no screens for 30 minutes. This is behavioral psychology in simple form. Cue, routine, reward. You don't rise because you're brave. You rise because you're conditioned by your own design. 7. The friction principle. Make bad habits hard, good habits easy. Willpower is limited. Friction is powerful. If your phone is beside your bed, scrolling is easy. If junk food is in your kitchen, overreading is easy. If your work setup is messy, procrastination is easy. So redesign the defaults. Add friction to what you want to reduce. Log out of social apps. Delete the most addictive ones for 30 days. Charge your phone outside your bedroom. Keep snacks out of the house. Block distracting sites during deep work. Remove friction from what you want to increase. Lay out workout clothes the night before. Keep a book visible. Open your work document before bed. Prepare a simple healthy meal option. Make your deep work space clean and ready. This is not about being extreme. It's about making the right choice, the easy choice. 8. Track what matters, the scoreboard effect. What gets measured gets improved, because measurement creates awareness. You don't need complicated data. You need a simple scoreboard. Create a weekly checklist with 3 to 5 habits max. For example, deep work, 5x, exercise, 3x, sleep by 11, 5x, no social media before noon, 4x. Each day, mark yes or no. No drama. No guilt. Just the truth. The management thinker Peter Drucker is often quoted as saying, "What gets measured gets managed." When you track, you stop living in vague self-judgment and start living in facts. Facts create control. 9. The Sunday reset. Keep your system from collapsing. Your system needs maintenance. Once per week, 20 minutes, do a reset. Review your checklist. Identify what worked. Identify what broke. Adjust one thing. Then plan the next week with realism. Discipline is not rigid. It's responsive. A good system adapts to your life while protecting your priorities. 10. The deeper truth. Discipline is self-respect, repeated. Discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about proving to yourself, daily, that you are not a person controlled by mood, comfort, or distraction. It's a quiet kind of pride. Not ego, not performance, self-respect. And once you build a stable discipline system, you will experience a new problem. You'll start progressing, and you'll start noticing time. You'll realize how fast life moves. How many years can disappear. How easy it is to delay what matters. Which brings us to the next chapter. Because discipline helps you act. But to act wisely, you need to understand time, how to use it, how to protect it, and how to stop procrastinating with your future. The Roman poet Horace wrote, "While we are postponing, life speeds by." In Chapter 8, we'll talk about time, procrastination, and the art of doing what matters now, before someday becomes never. Chapter 8, The Time Upgrade, End Procrastination and Stop Delaying Your Life. Most people don't waste their lives in one dramatic mistake. They waste them in small delays. A week becomes a month. A month becomes a year. A year becomes, I guess this is just how life is. And in the USA, the UK, Canada, Europe, and Australia, where work can be demanding, costs are high, and attention is constantly under attack, time doesn't just slip away. It gets taken. Taken by notifications. Taken by meetings that shouldn't exist. Taken by scrolling that only takes a minute. Taken by anxiety loops disguised as thinking. Taken by procrastination that feels like relief and ends as regret. So this chapter isn't about waking up at 4 a.m. or becoming a productivity machine. It's about something more serious. Stop postponing the life you actually want. 1. Procrastination isn't laziness, it's emotional avoidance. People procrastinate on the things that matter most. Not because they don't care. Because they care enough to feel pressure. They procrastinate because the task triggers something. Fear of failure. Fear of judgment. Fear of not being good enough. Fear of starting and realizing the truth. Fear of finishing and being seen. So the mind reaches for relief. The philosopher and mathematician Blaise Pascal warned that humans will do almost anything to avoid facing themselves in silence. And that remains true. Procrastination is often the moment you choose comfort over identity. But once you understand it as emotional avoidance, you stop insulting yourself, and you start using strategy. 2. The time truth. You don't find time, you decide what matters. People say, "I don't have time." What they often mean is, "I don't have time after everything else." But everything else is not neutral. It's choices, defaults, expectations, habits. The writer Annie Dillard is often quoted as saying, "How we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives." That line is sharp because it removes fantasy. If you spend your days in reaction, your life becomes a reaction. If you spend your days building, your life becomes built. Time management is not about squeezing more into your day. It's about refusing to spend your life on what doesn't matter. 3. That someday lie. Procrastination sells you a fake future. Procrastination whispers. You'll do it when things calm down. You'll start when you feel ready. You'll begin after this busy season. You'll fix it next month. But ready is a feeling that often arrives after action, not before it. And when things calm down is usually a myth, especially in a world where the pace is structural. The Roman philosopher Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." The tragedy isn't dying early. The tragedy is living for years without beginning. 4. The 10-minute start, the simplest anti-procrastination weapon. The mind resists big tasks. It doesn't resist small starts. So the rule is, you don't have to finish. You have to start for 10 minutes. Set a timer. Remove distractions. Do the first, smallest step. Write the messy first paragraph. Open the spreadsheet. Do the warm-up. Draft the email. Outline the plan. 10 minutes is short enough to bypass fear. And here's what often happens. Once you start, momentum appears. Once momentum appears, resistance fades. You don't need motivation to start. You need a start that's too small to refuse. 5. That the next action method. Clarity eliminates avoidance. A major cause of procrastination is vagueness. Your brain can't start getting fit. It can start with walk for 20 minutes. Your brain can't start building a business. It can start write a one-page offer. Your brain can't start, fix my finances. It can start, list expenses from last week. So anytime you feel avoidance, ask, what is the next physical action? Not the whole project. Not the perfect plan. This is how high performers move through complexity. They convert it into the next step. 6. Time is not just hours. It's energy and attention. Here's why many people feel like time is disappearing. They have hours, but they don't have energy. They have free time, but their brain is fried. They have evenings, but they're mentally depleted from decision fatigue, stress, and constant context switching. So the question becomes, when in my day do I have my best energy, and what am I doing with it? Most people give their best energy to messages, meetings, other people's emergencies, scrolling, low-value tasks. Then they try to build their dream with leftovers. That's why the dream stays a dream. Protect your best hour like it's your future, because it is. 7. The time block triangle. Build, maintain, recover. To end the chaos, organize your week with 3 categories. Build, work that improves your future, skills, portfolio, fitness, side project, learning, work that keeps life functional, job tasks, chores, admin errands. Recover, work that restores you, sleep, movement, quiet, relationships, nature. Many people live in maintain only. They maintain bills, maintain work, maintain obligations. They don't build, and they don't properly recover. So they feel stuck and exhausted. A strong life requires all 3, every week. Not perfectly, but intentionally. 8. The no list. Time is protected by subtraction. You don't create time only by scheduling. You create time by subtracting. Make a no list. No phone for the first hour of the day. No doom scrolling after 9 p.m. No meetings without agendas. No saying yes instantly. No explaining your boundaries to people who benefit from you having none. This is where many people get uncomfortable. Because saying no is a social risk. But saying yes to everything is personal betrayal. The philosopher Lao Tzu wrote, "To attain knowledge, add things every day. To attain wisdom, remove things every day." Wisdom is subtraction. 9. Death is a teacher. Use it without becoming dark. There's a reason the Stoics practiced memento mori, remembering death. Not to become depressed. To become awake. Because death clarifies priorities like nothing else. When you remember that life is finite, you stop treating important things like they're optional. Steve Jobs is famously quoted as saying, "Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose." Whether you love that quote or not, the principle is strong. When you stop pretending time is unlimited, courage rises. You stop delaying the conversation. You stop delaying the workout. You stop delaying the project. You stop delaying the life. 10. The daily closing question. End the day with ownership. If you want your time to change, end each day with one question. Did I spend at least 30 minutes building my future today? Not maintaining. Not reacting. Building. If yes, respect yourself. If no, no shame. But no lies. Adjust tomorrow. This simple question creates a life that moves. The point of this chapter. Procrastination isn't a moral failure. It's a pattern, one that can be interrupted with clarity, small starts, and protected time. Because the truth is, your future is built in the hours you could have wasted. And now that you've learned to reclaim your time, we need to aim it at something deeper than productivity. Because people can be disciplined, focused, efficient, and still feel empty. They can win externally and lose internally. So the next chapter is about purpose, how to create a life that feels worth the effort, and how to connect your daily grind to something that gives you strength when motivation disappears. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." In Chapter 9, we'll build your why, your purpose, your personal code, and the meaning that turns discipline into a life you actually want to live. Chapter 9, the meaning engine. Build a why stronger than mood. You can optimize your habits, fix your focus, build discipline, and reclaim your time and still feel empty. That emptiness is not weakness. It's a signal. Because human beings do not run best on pressure alone. We don't thrive on productivity for its own sake. We need a reason that makes effort feel worth it. In the USA, UK, Canada, Europe, and Australia, many people are living in a strange contradiction. They are busy but not fulfilled, informed but not wise, connected but not anchored, successful on paper but secretly exhausted. And the question underneath it all is simple. What am I doing this for? This chapter is about building an answer that holds. When motivation drops, when the world changes, when the applause disappears, when life gets real. 1. Meaning is not a luxury, it's fuel. People treat purpose like a nice to have. But purpose is not decoration. It is endurance. When you have meaning, you can suffer without collapsing. When you don't, even comfort can feel unbearable. The psychiatrist Viktor Frankl, who survived the Nazi concentration camps, wrote, "Those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how." That line became famous for a reason. It's psychologically true. A strong why doesn't remove difficulty. It makes difficulty usable. 2. The modern crisis. Too many options, not enough direction. In earlier generations, meaning was often inherited through tradition, religion, community, or a stable role. Now the meaning is personalized. You must build it. But there's a trap in that freedom. Endless options can produce paralysis and emptiness. You can always imagine a different life. A better city. A better career. A better partner. A better version of you. So you keep consuming self-improvement like entertainment, always preparing, always becoming, never arriving. Meaning is not found through endless searching. Meaning is built through commitment. 3. Purpose is not a job title. Purpose is a direction. Many people confuse purpose with career. They think they need the perfect job that feels like destiny. But the purpose is bigger than a job and more practical than a dream. Purpose is a direction you choose and repeatedly serve. It can live inside any job, any city, any season. A nurse can have purpose. A tradesperson can have purpose. A student can have purpose. An entrepreneur can have purpose. A parent can have purpose. Even a person starting over can have purpose. Because purpose isn't status. Its meaning is in motion. The philosopher Aristotle wrote, "Where your talents and the needs of the world cross, there lies your vocation." Paraphrased in many forms, but the core idea is enduring. The point is not to find a fantasy. The point is to connect your strengths to real contribution. For the meaning triangle, growth, contribution, love. If you want a simple structure for meaning, use this triangle. Growth, becoming capable, strong, skilled, disciplined. Contribution, making life better for someone beyond yourself. Love, genuine connection, loyalty, and care. A life with only growth becomes ego or emptiness. A life with only contribution becomes burnout. A life with only love can become comfort without direction. But when all three are present, even imperfectly, life feels worth the effort. Ask yourself, where am I growing right now? Who benefits from my growth? Who am I building this life with, or for? Meaning becomes clearer when it's grounded in real relationships and real service, not abstract ambition. 5. The personal code, the kind of person you refuse to betray. In unstable times, your external plans might change. Your internal code must not. A personal code is not a motivational quote. It's a set of standards you live by when life tests you. Here's how to write yours. Complete these sentences. I will be the kind of person who, even when. For example, I will be the kind of person who tells the truth, even when it costs me, because self-respect matters more than approval. I will be the kind of person who takes care of my body, even when I'm busy, because my energy is my life. I will be the kind of person who follows through, even when no one is watching, because I don't build my life on mood. This is identity anchored to meaning. And meaning is what makes discipline feel like freedom instead of punishment. 6. The modern temptation, cynicism as a personality. Cynicism is fashionable right now. It sounds intelligent to dismiss everything. It feels safe to say nothing matters. It feels powerful to criticize without building. But cynicism is often a mask for fear. Fear of trying, fear of caring, fear of being disappointed. The British writer George Bernard Shaw wrote, "A life spent making mistakes is not only more honorable, but more useful than a life spent doing nothing." Cynicism produces nothing. Meaning requires the risk of commitment. If you want a meaningful life, you must be willing to look naive to cynical people. You must be willing to care. 7. Purpose must become practice. Daily meaning beats abstract meaning. A lot of people say they want a meaningful life, but they don't convert meaning into daily action. So here's a practical method. Each morning, choose one meaning action, something that expresses your values. For examples, send a supportive message to someone you care about. Do your deep work before distractions. Take care of your health. Learn a skill that increases your ability to contribute. Volunteer once a week. Have the hard conversation you've been avoiding. Show up for your family with attention, not just presence. Meaning is not found in a single big moment. Meaning is built in repeated small choices. 8. The legacy question. What do you want to be known for? Not online. In real life. When people remember you, what do you want them to say? They were reliable. They were brave. They were calm under pressure. They built something real. They lifted others. They told the truth. They didn't quit. This isn't about ego. It's about direction. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What we do now echoes in eternity." Often attributed, whether phrased exactly that way or not, the principle matches Stoic thought. Your choices shape your character. Your character shapes your legacy. And you are writing it daily. 9. Meaning makes you resilient to trends. Trends change constantly. What success looks like. What's cool. What politics says you should fear. What social media says you should want. If you base your life on trends, you will live in anxiety. But if you base your life on meaning, you become stable. Meaning gives you the courage to say, "That's popular, but it's not for me. That's loud, but it's not true. That's easy, but it's not right. That's tempting, but it costs too much." Meaning is how you stop being pulled by the world. The point of this chapter. Purpose is not a mystical discovery. It is a practical decision. What you stand for, what you build, who you serve, and what you refuse to betray. When your why is clear, discipline becomes easier. Time becomes more valuable. Focus becomes natural. And pressure becomes usable. But there's one final piece. Even with a strong purpose, even with discipline and emotional mastery, you will still face setbacks. You will still face loss. Mistakes. Rejections. Bad seasons. Unexpected change. So the final chapter is about resilience at the highest level. How to reset after failure, how to rebuild after disruption, and how to keep moving without losing yourself. Nelson Mandela said, "The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall." In Chapter 10, we'll build your comeback mindset, the skill of starting again, stronger, with wisdom, and without shame. Chapter 10, the comeback mindset, how to rise again without shame. Life doesn't only test your ambition. It tests your recovery. Because sooner or later, something will break your rhythm. A job change you didn't plan, a financial hit, a health scare, a relationship ending, a relocation, a season of grief, a mistake you can't undo, or simply a long stretch where you don't recognize yourself. And in those moments, the real question is not, "Can I succeed?" It's, "Can I start again?" The difference between people who build great lives and people who stay stuck is not that one group never fails. It's that one group knows how to return. To discipline. To focus. To meaning. To self-respect. This chapter is your blueprint for that return. 1. The hidden danger after failure. Identity damage. Failure hurts for obvious reasons. Loss, embarrassment, consequences. But the deeper damage is often invisible. You start rewriting your identity. "I'm not who I thought I was. I always mess things up. Maybe I'm not built for this. Other people can do it. I can't." This is where many people lose years. Not because they failed, but because they believed failure was a verdict. It isn't. It's information. The philosopher Samuel Beckett wrote, "Ever tried? Ever failed? No matter. Try again. Fail again. Fail better." That line isn't about celebrating failure. It's about refusing to let failure become the end of the story. Because life rewards the person who can learn and return. 2. Treat setbacks like data, not drama. When something goes wrong, your mind will naturally create a story. Sometimes the story is accurate. Often it's exaggerated. It turns one loss into a lifetime label. It turns one bad season into a permanent identity. So instead of asking, "Why am I like this?" ask better questions. What exactly happened? What was the cause? Behavioral, environmental, emotional? What warning signs did I ignore? What will I do differently next time? What remains under my control today? This is not cold. It's clean. Clean thinking is what gives you power when emotions are loud. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Your reaction becomes your direction. 3. The comeback is not a mood, it's a protocol. When people try to get back on track, they often wait for motivation. But the comeback doesn't start with motivation. It starts with structure. Here is a simple comeback protocol you can use after any setback, large or small. Step 1. Stabilize your basics, 3 days. Sleep at consistent hours. Eat simple, clean meals. Move your body daily, even a walk. Reduce noise, social media, constant news, mental clutter. When basics stabilize, your mind becomes usable again. Step 2. Rebuild one promise, 7 days. Pick one small daily promise you can keep, no matter what. 20 minutes deep work, or 10 minutes movement, or journaling at night, or one application/outreach per day. This restores the thing failure tries to steal, self-trust. Step 3. Scale with proof, 30 days. Once the promise is stable, add the next piece. Not because you feel ready, because you have evidence. A comeback is not a heroic moment. It's a series of small, respected commitments. Release the shame, keep the lesson. Shame is heavy and useless. It doesn't correct you. It crushes you. Shame says, "I am bad." Wisdom says, "I did something that didn't work." You can take responsibility without carrying shame. In fact, shame often delays growth because it keeps you stuck in hiding. Hiding from people, hiding from goals, hiding from your own standards. The Roman philosopher Seneca wrote, "The bravest sight in the world is to see a great man struggling against adversity. Not a great man who never falls." A great person is someone who can be honest about reality and still move forward. 5. The most powerful reset. Stop obsessing over outcomes and return to craft. After a setback, the mind becomes obsessed with outcomes. How fast can I recover? How do I catch up? How do I prove myself again? That obsession creates panic, and panic destroys precision. Instead, return to craft. Craft is the part you can control. Making the next call, writing the next page, training the next session, studying the next hour, building the next small asset, having the next honest conversation. The comeback mindset is not, "I will be great again tomorrow." It's, "I will be serious today." Quiet seriousness beats emotional intensity. 6. Forgive yourself strategically. Forgiveness is not permission. It's clearance. Some people never recover because they keep punishing themselves. They replay mistakes like a courtroom case. They demand perfection as a condition for self-respect. They carry their past like a sentence. But self-punishment doesn't create transformation. It creates fatigue. Forgiveness is not saying, "It didn't matter." Forgiveness is saying, "It mattered, and I'm done paying forever." It's clearance. And clearance gives you energy to rebuild. 7. The Phoenix Principle. You are allowed to be new. There's a moment in every comeback where you realize, the old version of you can't carry the new life. A new level requires a new identity, new standards, new boundaries, new choices. This is where people get emotional, because it feels like leaving a part of yourself behind. But you're not betraying yourself. You're updating yourself. The German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche wrote, What does not kill me makes me stronger. Not automatically. Not magically. It becomes strength only when you extract the lesson and change the behavior. That's the Phoenix principle. You don't return to who you were. You return wiser. 8. The final truth. You will be remembered for what you repeated. In the end, your life is not defined by your worst day. It is defined by what you repeatedly chose, especially after things went wrong. The comeback mindset is the decision to live forward. With clean thinking, stable habits, strong boundaries, meaningful direction. Not perfectly, but honestly. And if you've listened this far, you already have proof of something important. You are someone who seeks improvement. Someone who is willing to confront reality. Someone who doesn't want to live on autopilot. That matters. Because the world doesn't need more people who are merely entertained. It needs people who are awake. If this audiobook gave you language for what you've been feeling, pressure, distraction, uncertainty, then use it the way it was intended, not as background noise, but as a turning point. Choose one idea from these chapters and apply it for 7 days. 1 hour of deep work, 1 minimum viable discipline habit, 1 boundary that protects your peace, 1 meaningful action that aligns with your code. 1 small promise kept daily to rebuild self-trust. Let the results speak. And when life gets loud again, as it always does, return to these principles. Re-listen to the chapter you need. Take notes. Make it practical. Share it with someone who's quietly fighting their own battle. Because mindset isn't something you have. It's something you practice. And the person you become from here won't be defined by the world you live in, but by the standards you choose to live by.